So anyway, I'm Phil Trovato. I am the agency head for the relationship with GroupM and Paramount Global. And what that means, about 6 months or so ago, we decided that, and this is sort of relating to the complexity of the last 2 days, we have so many platforms, opportunities, and ways to partner with our partners at GroupM and all of the advertisers like Mars that are associated, that it's not one person's job, it's not 2 or 3 people's job, it is an army's job. And so my role in this new restructured organization is to marshal those resources. And while we had so many specific experts over the last 2 days really dive deeply, it's our role, my role, and frankly, we share that in common as aggregators. We talked a little bit about what Matt spends in the marketplace, raise money. We talk a little bit about Ray spending dozens of brands' money, hundreds of millions of dollars across every platform. So what we are is aggregators. And so rather than dive deeply into the minutia, which was very, very valuable, I think we're going to give a little bit more of a perspective. At least I'd like to think that that's what we're going to do. But having said that, we do have to talk about specific issues. So I thought we would start with streaming. And there's probably no more seismic shift to our industry than streaming. If you look at Paramount and Paramount Global, we launched Paramount Plus. We've coupled it with Pluto. We're now merging that with Showtime. We have more monthly unique viewers now than there were cable people in the universe a couple of years ago. It is who we are now. We, of course, are still tied to linear, but it is who we are now. So, Matt, I'll kick it off to you. Streaming has been seismic. What has the impact been on the way you're finding audiences for clients like Mars?
Well, we follow consumer engagement. And you said I spend his money. We invest his money. We don't spend it.
It's not my money.
But no, I mean, look, the consumers have voted, and it's an on-demand world that's best serviced through, streamed content. Mm-hmm. There's so many options and choices. We were talking a little bit about, my kids. I've got 4 kids. They don't talk about streamed TV. They talk about TV. They're less interested in how it gets to their device or to, the flat screen TV. They're more interested in the content. And the great thing is that we're in this, this industry at this moment in time where there's so much incredible content. You could argue it's difficult to find, but it's amazing what's available to you now. So how does that change the way we look for audiences? Well, traditional pay linear TV is getting older and older, and ratings are going down. That's why, you guys have invested tremendously in streaming and direct to consumers, a way to sort of find those audiences and engage with those audiences in ways you couldn't do before. So we look for audiences, we look for opportunities for our clients to engage with them. We've got to find those folks. It's pretty easy to find certain demographics in traditional TV. A lot of our clients want younger demographics, and we've got to find ways to engage with them. The last thing I will say was when you move from an hour of viewing in traditional pay TV, you get about 16 minutes of advertising. Once that hour goes from traditional pay into the streaming world, there's only like 3.5 or 4 minutes of available advertising. Now we've got Netflix and Disney Plus and others who are adding advertising to their offering, but the reality is it puts a constraint on supply at a time when we don't need constraints on supply.
Absolutely. And Ray, specifically as it relates to sports, I know we talked a little bit about this, but Mars is a huge sports advertiser, clearly has over the years valued the relationship of the sports fan and your customer. As sports are more and more migrating to these platforms, do you see more opportunities to surround that fan, to show them different content, and talk a little bit about that if you could?
Yeah, I think we look at sports as a holistic environment. It's not just about Monday Night Football anymore. It used to be a singular place. When we think about things like football, which we are a heavy sponsor of, we think of things fantasy football. We were talking a little bit about the day after the game. People watch on YouTube. They watch highlights. It's no longer just about that event. And when you think about younger consumers, They can watch a football game in 4 minutes on Monday morning, watch their team. I think about the engagement that digital and even social in a big way is provided. It brings in those younger consumers where they don't want to sit there for 4 hours and watch a football game. Unlike us, they'll sit there for 12 hours from 1 to 8. They don't want to do it. You got to bring in the younger consumers. Matt's point about the linear getting older, absolutely true. Categories like mine, I need younger guys to refill the bucket of consumers before they get too old.
Excellent, excellent. So again, keeping with the theme, we're going to touch on some of the themes that were talked about over the last 2 days, but quickly. So we're going to pivot now to measurement and currency. Measurement and currency are having their moment in our industry. I don't know if people noticed it, but it comes up a lot in our industry. But it seems to be somewhat of a finite concept. Will we soon, I'll leave this to you, will we soon arrive, Matt, at a place where we've solved the Rubik's Cube of measurement and currency? Will we be able to measure that impression completely, understand it completely, and then move? What is post that, if that can happen?
Not this year. Not this year's upfront. First of all, look, Nielsen has been the dominant player in currency, measurement in currency in the marketplace for a long, long time. There have been some challenges in terms of their product and the offering, and the buy side is probably unhappy, and the sell side has been equally unhappy, and they're making investments. We're interested to see what this new, the new Nielsen One platform delivers. And they just got their MRC accreditation back, at least for traditional measurement. I love competition and I love technology. When I first came over from Xaxis to my role in investment, I mean, I've never bought TV. I've never planned a TV. I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by really smart people. And I was smart enough to rely on the years of experience that they had, but they talked about measurement and about ratings and about declines and rates of change. And I was like, can we just look at the ad server? Is there a DSP? Is there a log we can pull? And they're like, no, it's delivered. And it made no sense to me. So we have a ways to go as more and more of this becomes digital. We're hoping we'll get better measurement. Better measurement leads to more effective ads and better optimizations. I mean, I mentioned to you guys, the objective for Jill Kelly over here, who is the North American CEO of Essence Mediacom, what Jill and her counterparts at the agencies here at GroupM want us to do is to be in a marketplace where we're buying fewer, better performing, more engaging ads. That's what the future of this business looks like. We don't talk enough about frequency and oversaturation of ads. I listen to CNBC in the morning when I drive in. If I hear one more about Norman and Karen Dugan, who are trading in her life insurance policies because they want to go on a vacation because they've already paid for the college, I can't stand it. I've heard it 1,747 times this month. We don't talk about the negative impact advertising has enough. So measurement, better currencies will allow us to better target ads and hopefully make them more engaging. Fewer,
bigger, better, but at the same time, increased measurement, and this is actually going to pivot to Ray, increased measurement or more accurate measurement may afford marketers like Mars to create multiple cuts and executions and deliver them in a manner that don't exhaust the interest of somebody like Matt, who doesn't want to hear the 700th.
Yeah, I think the big thing about the measurement for us, right, as we think about all the modeling we do, and you heard about data for the last 16 hours we've been here, right? It's super important as the accountability on the vendor side to go into our models. Are we getting accurate data? Can we measure the stuff right? We're putting a ton of money into the marketplace, measuring everything. What does it look like? It's got to be legit data going into it so we get legit data out from a modeling side.
And how do you couple this new capability with, how do you interact with the brand teams to work with them and to help lead them through this idea that you can have these multiple executions? And how does it weave its way into the investment?
Yeah, we do a lot of custom advertising by platform, right? So there's a lot of non-working that goes into it. Very important to manage that. Fewer, bigger, better, absolutely. The brand teams are on this journey with us. They're much more acclimated to talking about data, talking about measurement. It used to be, you kind of don't want to know how the sausage is made, right? Tell us what the sales are and we'll be cool there. It's not that way anymore. Everybody's invested. The amount of money, the accountability is super important. They're in the boat with us pretty significantly. We get better questions now than we've ever gotten from our brand guys relative to media. The measurement, what are we buying? How's it delivering? They're sometimes more on top of it. What happened? And I think probably not in a great way. Hey, we ran that Super Bowl ad. What happened? I'm like, the ad ran last week. Like, we need a little bit of time. But the accountability, the brands are in with us.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. Next topic, lightning round. Social influencers. Forbes recently said that 50 million people consider themselves to be social influencers. However, 40,000 people have 1 million followers. Those are the true influencers. Those are the ones you can buy and you can access. And I know you have micro influencers and you can get access to those folks. It's a smaller group of people than the 50 million that think are influencers. That said, by 2024, the expectation is it's a $7 billion business. Do I have that right? I think I saw that right. I think I saw that somewhere. Did I read that? Let me check my notes.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Go with that.
7 billion, 7.14. That's a lot. Actually, I had to double check that. GroupM recently acquired GOAT, Matt, the GOAT agency, specializing in influence. And also, obviously, clearly you're leaning in as GroupM in the influencer space. Could you talk a little bit about what you think having insight and management of services like that mean for clients like Ray, mean for your other clients, and the fact that GroupM will ultimately be able to deliver that managed service to folks?
You talked about some big numbers about the number of people that are influencers consider themselves influencers. I can't wait for the shakeout because I can't go out to dinner in my town without my wife going, "Oh, she's an influencer," and I'm like, I think of it in two different ways. There are people who are influencers who create content and who've actually become media companies. So those are the folks that are really, really interesting at the higher end. You think about sort of how do you engage with them. But then there are, these vertical specialists that know so much about topics and are really good at what they do. And there are opportunities for brands to connect with them as well. So I think trying to figure out what's real and what's not real in that space is why we bought an agency called GOAT, because that's what they do. They do the analysis behind it, figure out where's the real influence behind these folks that call themselves influencers, and what sort of content are they creating? It does come down to credibility as well. So being able to sift through the millions of people who consider themselves and then bring forward the ones that make the most sense for Mars is what we're going to be doing with GOAT.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're actually big supporters of the space. We are a big sponsor of VidCon coming up in a couple of weeks. We believe in it a lot. The influencers are stars and celebrities to younger consumers, right? They're the credible source. You think about fake news and all that stuff. Whether it's right or not, they take influencers at face value. And if they follow them, they feel like they know them. That's the beauty of that space, frankly. They feel like they have a direct one-to-one relationship. We believe in the space a lot. Now, there's a lot of risk to it too, right? Somebody goes off the rails, you're in the boat with them, right? So you got to manage that. But I think generally it's an important space, and you got to sift. Not everybody can afford Kim Kardashian, right? And how do you pick the right people on the right message that are going to present your brand in the right way? You got to do a lot of vetting. It's not an easy off-the-shelf kind of answer.
So like at our company, we talk about, the duck on the top of the water and underneath the legs are moving quickly. And, social influencers, that business space seems like it's relatively easy. You tap into their audiences, you pick up their effectiveness, but you've got to have tons of people internally that are doing that work. And hopefully in the future, agencies like GroupM with their newfound effectiveness can help with that.
No doubt.
Process.
There's a lot of legwork. There's a lot of resource that goes into it. So we pick them and use them for big things. It's not an everyday thing. There's a lot of review process. There's a lot of contractual conversations. It's not an easy all the time thing for sure.
We have functionality at our place. We call it C+, Creative Plus. And basically we have also algorithms and methods to maintain safety, security, picking the right influencer. So we're all sort of dabbling in that same space. We can provide it as a managed service. Soon GroupM is going to be doing that same thing. And I think it just depends on where, what's the IP you want to associate with, what's the relationship, what's the partnership. And it seems like it's growing in terms of the industry's ability to support the effectiveness that the platform provides. Okay, next topic, AI. A lot of people talked about AI.
Has that come up? I don't think I've heard that.
Somewhere between Skynet. One of the best yeah. Oh, AI, yeah. So somewhere between it's going to be all of our demise to it's going to be heaven for all of us. Somewhere in between lies the truth. Recently, obviously, Steve Wozniak and Elon Musk predicted that it's going to kill us all, or we should at least slow down before it kills us all. But the fact is, AI, machine learning, have been a part of what we do for years. When you were running Xaxis, they were a part of what you did there. I mean, machine learning and AI are quite different concepts, but the fact is we're getting smarter and better and more efficient and more effective because of AI. And Matt, specifically to you, 3 to 5 years, how much of our industry, from creative to implementation to optimization to targeting, will be impacted by AI?
I think it's all going to be impacted by AI in 3 to 5 years. I heard something this morning that was talking about, pharmaceutical company coming out with a new brand and how they, work with a branding company and say, well, what's the name of this new brand? And you'll be able to ask ChatGPT to come up with a brand for a new, drug that helps people with whatever ailment they have. That's going to be, that's incredible to think about how quickly this is already happening. What I will say, what we've been doing at GroupM and with the agencies is that we've been investing in data science and machine learning and the people that understand deep analytics for years. There's a product that was created at Xaxis called Copilot. It's integrated with the largest DSPs. And fundamentally, what it allows you to do is leverage data and leverage algorithms, not algorithms that we create. Those math equations are created by people that go to Caltech and MIT. The secret sauce is the data and how it gets plugged into the algorithms, and then the hopefully more progressive KPIs that you're trying to have as an outcome based on those inputs, those data inputs. And the product's called Copilot. It's used by so many of our clients right now, mostly for programmatic. I see that being something that's used across all media buying in the next, I don't think it's going to take 3 to 5 years. It's going to happen way before that. Excellent. Ray, you want to get into it? So Ray asked for more technical questions, so that was okay. Ray, one for you. Retail marketing. It's come up. Retail marketing has come up quite a bit, and the specific question I have for you is the confluence of, retail marketing and traditional branded marketing, and how do you weave them together when you have partners like a Paramount that are able to get you associated with IP and get that in retail? And it's a complicated puzzle, but I'm curious because they've traditionally been different decision makers within your organization, and how are you structured now differently or working now differently to couple that, branded and retail?
Yeah, they're actually still pretty siloed, unfortunately. We're working pretty diligently to bring them together. An example of what we're trying to do, I actually hired a retail media manager that sits under my team, under the national media team, to try to bring those two teams together. It's literally her role to deal with retailer media and our shopper marketing team, and how to get that together with the national message, talking about things like message sequencing. What does it look like? How do we do it? It's a challenge because companies like Mars, like a lot of the companies, legacy is shopper marketing's here, national media's here, never the two shall meet unless it's by accident, right? And when we think about briefing and kind of bringing the teams together, we're in the same briefings now, national and shopper. It's really coming together. We haven't cracked it yet, to be honest, but it's on. We have to, frankly, as an industry, not just Mars, because we heard it again for 2 days. It was a big topic. there's a lot of pressure on the system, specifically from a lot of the retailers. As part of JBPs, they want retailer media included into a lot of those packages. It has to be dealt with. So yeah, we're bringing it together.
All right, excellent. Do you want to build on that?
I would just say that retailers want to be media companies.
Yeah.
Media companies want to be data and technology companies. Data and tech companies want to be media companies. I mean, the fact is you have to be all right now. That's the reality. It's no longer about creating great content and distributing it. You have to have data, technology. You have to make those investments. I don't care what side of the business you're in. But what we're really talking about, and have been talking about a long time, is that brand and performance, how that's got to come together. And it comes back better with better data, better measurement, better systems. We're in the middle of that journey here as well, and we're navigating it along with our partners like Mars.
Yeah, I think somebody said it yesterday, and it's true. Like, we're consumers. We're not just like advertising people. We don't see the difference. Oh, I guess that came out of the shopper budget, or that's a shopper ad, or versus a national ad. You got to think about what a consumer's going to see, and in the order and the cadence they're going to see it. Super important. There's a lot of things that go into it besides the research and the background stuff. What does the content look like? What is a national message that leads into a conversion message? All of those things are really critical to provide a good consumer experience.
Excellent. Thank you. I wanted to wrap it up with just a general set of questions about the marketplace, the relationships, the role of relationships, traditional relationships. You mentioned that a bit earlier. The more complex our industry has become, sometimes we forget about the role of relationships to help sort of shepherd through the complexity. And Matt, you mentioned it in the room just before we came out here. It's gotten a lot harder to be able to aggregate opportunity, and there's a lot of noise, because there's probably a million ways to be effective. And so what you're trying to do is sort of thread this opportunity and find one of the best ways. It doesn't have to be the best way, but there's so many choices that you could make. And so when you have partners and you have clients like Ray and Mars, and you've got partners like those in the room, and hopefully you'd think on the stage with you, talk a little bit about the role of relationship and how that's going to help us get through.
I mean, like any relationship, it's about trust, right? Trust and respect. So what I would recommend to anybody that's in the marketplace is to manage your credibility in this marketplace like it's the most valuable thing you have. When I was at Xaxis, I got called on by every data, technology, and media company. Now at GroupM in this role, I get called on by every data, technology, and media company. And I became cynical, and I wake up hopeful and optimistic every morning, but by 9:45, I was becoming cynical because people are telling me they can do things they can't do. It's okay to go, we do these three things really well. These two we're working on. This last one's going to take a couple of years, but these three things should be able to help your clients solve problems. And so when you have that kind of relationship where someone you trust is helping you figure out the path in the marketplace or curate, the partnership, it's really, really important. And that's Ray may not remember this, but we had a drink in Miami when I first got in the job. You had a Sprite or a Coke. Okay. I think I may have had a tequila. And there was some friction in the relationship because someone told Ray they could do something that Ray knew they couldn't do. And they wouldn't be honest about them not being able to do what they said they couldn't do. I got in the job. Do you remember this? You said, someone said they're going to get me 25% off the Super Bowl ad. I'm like, that's bullshit. They can't get you 25%. He goes, that's all I want to know. Someone to be honest with me.
There you go.
And that was our first meeting.
I'm going to just, before you answer Ray, one of the things specifically, and maybe you could wrap it up with this, is how has the relationship changed with marketers like Mars and agencies and holding companies like GroupM? And maybe you can answer and rebut what Matt just said, but with that context, how has it changed?
You know what, honestly, Phil, for me, it hasn't changed. I think you got to be open to conversations and have them with everybody, right? Like, not everybody's going to fit the bill. We're not going to have a mutually beneficial relationship, and that's cool. But I think you have to be open to the conversation, right? And I think a lot of the best programs that we've done at Mars have started from an ideation, like the guys are sitting here. Like, we'll sit, maybe the proposal's not awesome, it might not be right on, but we can get a germ of an idea out of it that we can build on together. I always talk to everybody, you've heard me say it, I'd rather see an idea on a napkin than a 40-page deck that's been proofed for 3 weeks. Let's talk about ideas and build it together. It's super important to me, and a lot of the things that we've done have been born out of that sentiment.
No, that's great. That's very encouraging. I'm going to maybe 1 or 2 sentences from each of you, if we can. Where are we going to be in 5 years? Matt, I'll start with you in the industry. 5 years from now.
No, I thought he was asking us personally.
Not, yeah.
You know, as we're talking about this, I've got a son who's a junior in college, graduating, marketing major, smart kid, grinder, and I don't know that I would have suggested he be in this industry a couple of years ago. I don't think I would have. I was sort of directing him, and that's changed. So I'm hopeful about the industry and where we're going. I think technology, especially around data and technology and sort of the pace of innovation. You talk about AI and all this stuff. It's a dynamic industry. It's an industry where you can continue to learn and work with great people. So as long as you can learn, you work with great people, and you're challenged, but you have a voice within whatever company you're working at, this is a great place to be. That may not give you the answer you're looking. I don't think there are going to be as many choices around media partnerships. I think that there's going to be a lot of M&A. There are just too many streaming options out there right now. Sports rights are going to force some interesting partnerships or mergers. The fact that you guys have to compete with Apple and Amazon and Google have very different business models. So I think it's going to be very different than it is today. But my hope is it's still a dynamic marketplace with great people where you can learn and have fun.
Love it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's still a cool business, right? There's a lot of cool people in it. We have great conversations. It's challenging. It's fun. It's frustrating. It's all those things. I think there's going to be a lot of more data. I think it's important to realize behind the data, there's people, right? And you're trying to make human connections with people. You have to say the right things, get them in the right mindset. But I think the incremental, the value that we can provide to consumers, my category provides when we were talking about the brands we have. I was looking around the room, people were smiling. We have cool brands, fun brands that people want to engage with. I think the data is going to help that, all right? As long as we don't get lost in the numbers, right? Do we have good insights where we can give people a good experience?
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you both. I mean, do we have time for any questions? I know it's the end of the day, but does anybody have any pressing questions? You could throw that block at somebody. Any hands? Can't you make somebody ask a question, Matt? Don't you have the power to do that? Chris? Lolly? Okay. All right. I think we're sort of wrapping up. All right. Thank you, guys.